What's up, everyone? Hope this video finds you well. And let's start with our first story. I told my mother this morning that I would never forgive her, and everyone thinks I'm making a mistake. My mother and I, 21 male, used to be very close, closer than my father and I for sure. Though I love my father, we're just very different people. He's a blue-collar outdoorsy type, and I've been working/volunteering at my local theater since I was 5. My mother always loved the theater, and we bonded over that love, along with a love for cinema. Whereas my dad only ever watches National Geographic on the cable that he still has. Not to say that my father was unsupportive, just that he was different. My parents got a divorce when I was 17. They tried to keep the reasons for it from me, but I eventually found out that my mother had been in a long affair with one of my father's friends. As soon as I found out, I confronted her at her apartment. She pushed me out the door and said she wouldn't talk to me when I'm acting like this, and that is the last time I had spoken to her for years. I still saw her sometimes, in public areas, but I left before she could say anything. My dad still says that he doesn't want to be the reason that I lose someone I'm so close to, but I can't stand to look at her anymore, knowing she was doing something so vile for years. The effect that it had on my father is palpable, like his life is over. They had been together since they were 14, and my father used to tell the story all the time that he knew even then that she was the only one for him, that they were soulmates. I used to wish I could find a love like that, and now I know it was always half a lie. Today she came to my work and demanded to know when we were going to work past this, to know when we can make things what they used to be. As I walked her out of the building for a private moment, I got incredibly angry and asked her when she was going to uncheat on my father. She insisted that we could work through this and that what happened didn't affect me, to which I laughed and said, "Unlike you, I am affected by people I love being in pain." We kept going like that until I eventually went off on her that we would never be reconciling because I don't want someone of such low class and character in my life. She didn't take it well, to put it frankly, and when I went back inside, she was still sobbing in her car. Part of me feels bad, but the rest of me feels that maybe now she understands that she effed up. My dad and friends are upset with me and say that I shouldn't push her away for my own sake. But she's a collection of painful memories now, and she had her chance to tell her side. She didn't want it. And let's read the comments for more context. Someone said to OP, "You owe her nothing. Don't feel bad about this. I don't know if your mom and a fair partner ended up together, but if they did, then that's even more a reason to stay away." OP replied with, "No, he was married, and he and his wife apparently are still together, which I personally can't imagine. Because when I say a long affair, I do mean long. No idea of exact dates, don't want to. But my estimate from the information is that it could have been going on for over half of a decade." Another question, "You told his wife? How did you come to know about it?" OP answered with, "No, his wife knew before I did, but she's the reason I know. My dad walked in on them and just froze before driving to his friend's house, knocking on the door and telling his wife. The friend apparently showed up while he was there and started denying everything. But the wife told me it wasn't the first time and that she thought he had a problem with sex. None of my business. The wife told me when I saw her out at a grocery store over a year later, when I asked if she knew why my parents were divorcing, since her husband was dad's best friend. And she hung out with my mom so often, I thought she would know. Boy, oh boy, did I feel like a monster for asking once she answered. Another user said, "Seems like you have a lot to look forward to when going out with your dad. He may not say this, but you should know that he is thankful and happy to have you around." OP replied with, "He isn't so good with words, no, very quiet, introverted. His whole thing is acts of service. For my mom, she loved citrus fruits, but couldn't peel them without making a mess and crushing the fruit, and hated the pith strings, and he would sit down and carefully peel full 3-pound bags of oranges, slowly, making sure to get all the pith off and not to lose any juice, not because she asked or anything, just because she liked it. That's a memory I have from when I was a child. I remember thinking, I won't marry anyone who I don't love enough to do that. Hence me still being single. Then there's me. He makes me breakfast whenever I sleep over, just the way I like it, before I wake up, and makes sure the fridge always has my favorite snacks, even now when I don't live there anymore. The first time he visited my place, he made a list of handyman tasks he needed to do. He's honestly an amazing dad, and I'm lucky to have him. I'm glad we're getting closer now." OP's father did all this, and she still cheated for a decade. No wonder OP feels betrayed. When someone cheats, they're not only betraying their partner, but also the family. And now to the second story. I warned her. My ex, 29 female, and I, 29 male, met in college in 2013. I was 22 and she was 21. We became good friends and eventually we developed feelings for each other. We became a couple a year later. It was a great relationship, and I don't regret it. Fast forward to 2016, I was home when she called me saying she was outside and that we needed to talk. So I went outside and I saw that she was crying in her car. I went up to her and asked what's wrong. She confessed that she cheated on me. I don't want to go into details because I'm trying to keep this short. I was shocked, hurt, and was teared up. She went on saying that we needed to break up because I deserved better than her and that she developed feelings for a fair partner. I warned her about rushing it with someone else and that a relationship that begins by cheating usually ends badly. After we finished talking, I walked back to my house, but before I went in, I turned around to see her one more time, and she was still crying. Once I went inside, she posted on social media saying, "I wish I could just disappear," with a crying emoji. I proceeded to remove her from social media after that. As I was mourning the end of my relationship, I also thought about how her new relationship will blow up in her face. Fast forward 2 years later. She messages me asking me to meet up because she wanted to talk. I knew the day had arrived, so I met her at a diner. I live in New Jersey, and she was miserable. She looked like she was crying before we met up. When she saw me, she gave a weak hi and I gave her a cold one. This surprised her and got teary-eyed. I started by asking her what she wanted to talk about. She started saying that she and AP broke up 2 weeks ago and admitted that the relationship with him was horrible. It turns out he was a narcissist who emotionally abused her. She also admitted that the guilt of what she did to me never went away and that I was right. She then noticed my emotionless expression and turned away, saying, "You used to be so happy and silly. It hurts seeing you like this, and I know it's my fault because of my bad, selfish, and dumb decisions." She went to say, "I'm sorry for everything. I thought about you every day for the past 2 years." She then said not only did she ruin us, but lost a best friend. "You were my best friend, and I ruined that." She started crying again, saying, "I'm not here to get back together because I don't deserve that, and I have no right to ask that." I proceeded to say that it's true that you don't deserve me. It gets quiet, and she turned away again. She then said that she missed me and that she missed me for 2 years. Then she asked me to be friends again. I told her I can't promise anything. She starts crying for the final time, and I left the diner. As I was walking out, I turned over, and she's still crying. How history repeats itself. In the end, cheating ruins the cheater and the victim. Never cheat, it's usually never worth it. She's just looking for closure to ease her guilt. Don't give it to her, man. Now the update. So because I got numerous requests, I'm going to post what happened after I left the diner. This will be my only update since there's nothing else to say afterwards. Before I go any further, I have some things to clarify about my original post. 1. The AP was emotionally abusive. I know because my ex showed me her text and it was full of, "No one will ever love you like me, and you're ugly." Also, he broke up with her by text. What a scumbag. 2. She did try to reach out to me multiple times during the 2 years she was with AP. She asked how I was doing, "I'm sorry," and "Are you okay?" I ended up not responding. I didn't block her because I was waiting for when her relationship blew up. 3. Friends and family actually saw her during the 2 years, and they all said the same thing. She looked miserable, and when she saw them, she would run up to them and ask how I'm doing, and tell me that she will never stop being sorry. 4. The diner meeting happened in 2018. Now back to the story. After I got home from the diner, she messaged me saying, "If we become friends again, I'll work my butt off to earn back your trust. And if not, please know I'll always be sorry for everything." Fast forward. A year later, I bumped into her while buying lunch. We caught up, and I wasn't as cold as before. I will admit I'm a little embarrassed about what I did next. I offered her a friends with benefits with me and she accepted. The friends with benefits lasted for a few months. When I look back, I think I did it for closure and to show her what she's missing. I ended it because I felt that I got my closure. She was disappointed but also understood. A few months later, she started seeing someone new, and they dated until early 2020 before the pandemic hit. She showed up to my home unannounced and revealed to me that the new guy cheated on her with multiple women and actually blamed her for the cheating. Just like the affair partner, the new guy broke up with her by text. She went on saying how much she hated herself for what she did to me, but now she understands how I felt. I gave her a hug and told her to take these lessons and never forgot them. She thanked me and left. Fast forward to now. I heard she's in individual counseling and remains single by choice. I saw her mother recently and she informed me. As for me, I'm single and working on myself. I'm getting into shape, and I'm working in psychology. Guess what inspired me? Thank you for reading my story. I appreciate everyone who read and replied. Man, OP is a savage. She really thought a friends with benefits situation would turn into something more. And the third story. Am I the a-hole for proposing to my ex-wife's ex-best friend? My future wife, Sarah, is wonderful. I met her 1 year after I met my ex-wife. I've always admired Sarah. She was always an upright and honest person, fighting for minorities, volunteering for associations, and was also very funny. She and my ex were great friends. But Sarah kept her distance from me when I wanted to get to know her. But over the years, we became very good friends. Then, 7 years ago, my ex-wife Martha, 38 female, cheated on me with a colleague of hers. I had my doubts, so I asked Sarah, 36 female, if she knew anything about it. She told me she didn't know anything. I did my research and found proof of my ex affair, and to top it all off, this colleague came to our house from time to time with other people, so he knew my family. I left Martha directly, and it was a difficult ordeal, especially for my daughter Lily, 15 female. During this ordeal, Sarah was really a shoulder for me. She cut ties with my ex, and as I had nowhere to go after the divorce, she refused to let me spend my money in hotels and allowed me to stay at her place. All my other friends were married, and I didn't want to disturb them, and my family lives too far away. Sarah was very patient with me and always listened to me. When my ex heard I was living with Sarah, she laughed and said she wasn't surprised. I asked her what she meant, but she didn't answer. My daughter came to visit me and was extremely unpleasant with Sarah. I had asked her why, and she told me that her mother had told her that the reason we had divorced was because I was in love with Sarah. I was furious and phoned my ex. She told me not to pretend and that she knew I had feelings for Sarah. I didn't want to hear any more and hung up. It had been years since I'd felt the need to finish my work and find the person I loved, and with Sarah, I was always looking forward to coming home. One night, we slept together and became a couple. Things went very fast, as Sarah got pregnant and we had our son Caleb, 5 male. When my son was born, Lily became surprisingly calm and got on very well with him, even though she was always so disagreeable with Sarah. To this day, Lily adores Caleb and even overprotects him. When she's at home and I scold Caleb for something stupid, she gets very angry and decides to take him with her and lock herself in her room with him. It's hard to spend time with my son when Lily's around because she monopolizes him, but Sarah says I should be happy that Lily loves Caleb. 1 week ago, I proposed to Sarah and she said yes. When my ex found out that Sarah and I were getting married, she came to our house furious. Fortunately, Sarah wasn't there at the time. My ex told me she was disgusted that I had used Sarah's altruism to push my sick obsession with her. I shot back that she was crazy and that I didn't know what she was talking about. Martha said that throughout our marriage, all I could think of was Sarah's name, that every time I did a favor for someone in need, I justified it by saying that Sarah would have done the same thing, that I never gave to associations that help minorities, but when I learned that Sarah had made a donation, I did the same, that I wasn't even interested in the BLM movement. But for Sarah, I was an expert, that during our evenings with friends, I always sought her gaze, and that I smiled like a child when she was around. And the times I refused her sex, she told me I didn't need to say why, and that she was doing it on purpose to suggest a meeting Sarah to see my reaction when she told me the three of us had something planned every time she asked for sex. I refused, saying I had to save energy for the next day. I just told her she was crazy, and I told her to leave because she was going to wake up my son, at which point she laughed and said that I'd never been afraid of waking Lily up when she was little, but that for the child I had with Sarah, I treated him differently from my daughter, especially as I'd always wanted to have a boy. And the fact that it was Sarah who gave me my first son was something else I had to put on my list, where I put Sarah's exploits. I was furious and told her to get the hell out of my house. I never told Sarah that Martha had come to make a scene. More importantly, I admit that I admired Sarah very much, but I never saw it as an obsession. Above all, I never imagined myself marrying Sarah when I was with Martha. And it's true that I always wanted a son, but I also love Lily. She's the one who cheated on me, so why am I the bad guy? And that's why you've got to control the narrative. She's using the classic cheater tactics to paint herself as the victim. Don't give a damn about her and just live your best life. That's it for today. Dear viewers, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out. Until next time, bye-bye.